morning. My name is Ignacio Donoso. I'm managing partner of Donoso & Partners, and we're going to present to you today updates regarding the Canadian immigration system, and in particular focusing on Canada's Startup Visa program, which is a very attractive program for opening a business or participating in a new novel business in Canada. So let's just dive right in. We do tend to focus on entrepreneurial visas both for the United States and Canada, but we do all kinds of visas for professionals and skilled workers, academics, futurers, some very famous athletes as well, I'm very proud to say, and some also famous actors and the like. Why Canada? I think you'll all agree that Canada is a lovely destination for immigration, primarily for the factors that are on the screen. It is a country that has a tendency to accept new immigrants. In fact, we'll see that some of the quotas for immigration to Canada have actually gone up and are planned to continue to go up in the next few years. The level is set at approximately 400,000 immigrants per year. The education system in Canada, for those of you who have children at the level, whether it's primary, secondary, or especially university level education, Canada's education system obviously is renowned throughout the world, and it's one of the premier education systems available. Universities such as McGill University, my alma mater, both for my undergraduate and graduate diplomas. I had the pleasure of studying there for many years, as well as other universities, famous universities like the University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, and the list goes on. Canada's universities are predominantly public universities. This is, of course, tremendously important when you're thinking of financing education through the university level. Healthcare is also one of Canada's tremendous assets in the sense that the healthcare system is public. It is a public system which enables new immigrants, permanent residents, to get the benefit of that when they immigrate to Canada for themselves and their family. And of course, Canada has an open culture, something that's considered a multicultural society, and they explicitly use that policy since the mid-60s and 70s to describe the concept of Canada as a country which welcomes immigrants from all over the world, and this is one of the reasons why immigration to Canada has been so popular for many decades now. Obviously, it's an economic powerhouse, a G7 country, and you probably are aware that Canada's technology sector has been booming for many years now. You probably also are aware that Canada's other industries, including production, vehicle production of high technology matters, products such as communications products, and also the financial and real estate sectors are also very, very attractive for investment. So overall, it has a great package. I'm not going to talk about the weather. You will not get me to talk about the weather. So, Canada's Startup Visa program. It's a tremendously attractive program primarily because it solves a problem faced by many immigrants. And the problem starts with a conversation like this. I reviewed my estimated points for the Express Entry program, and I don't qualify. And I don't qualify because I'm a little older than what the program is seeking, and my English is not as good as the English of other candidates, and I would still like to immigrate. So this is a family with one or two members of the family that have specific skills, but they're past the age when they would really have a chance of qualifying under the General Express Entry program. And the Startup Visa program was intended to open the door to people with skills and with the desire to do something entrepreneurial in Canada that's innovative and have the potential to turn into a large, attractive business for Canada. Okay? So it's an effort by the Canadian government to take a chance and let people try new things in the hope that they will be able to attract a growing business, particularly in the technology sector, to Canada. So, in summary, applicants are not selected based on Express Entry points. So that right there you have a huge change in the pool of people who can qualify, right? You use a system where the IRCC, the Immigration Service of Canada, Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada designates a collaborator, a partner in Canada called a designated organization. And you as an applicant partner with that company to receive sponsorship to be able to then proceed with your business idea. Okay? So there's, you can see a lot of efforts in the Canadian government to try and use private companies to help the program move forward as an entrepreneurial program. Again, very different than other parts of the Canada's immigration system. And believe me, there are dozens of programs. This is just one, but it's tremendously attractive. The interesting thing for me is that the program offers the opportunity to get permanent residency relatively quickly, within 18 to 24 months. And for certain applicants, you can actually come as an essential worker within 4 to 5 months with a temporary permit, and then eventually complete permanent residency in the 18 to 24 month period. So it really can be a quantum leap forward in terms of arriving to Canada for the approximately 2 essential workers per company. And we'll see how many workers fit into each company. Okay. So who can apply? Applicants regardless of age. The focus is on applicants' desire to pursue an entrepreneurial investment in a new Canadian company. So these are newly formed entities that are incorporated in Canada specifically for launching this new business proposal. Okay? Entrepreneurs are required to own at least 10% of the equity capital. Okay? So in total, there tends to be some domestic capital, typically up to 50%, and some capital from foreign entrepreneurs, totaling 50%. So the total number of investors or entrepreneurs in one company will be a maximum of 5. Okay? And that 2 of those could qualify as essential employees, and those 2 that qualify as essential employees will have the ability to obtain a temporary work permit in as little as 4 to 6 months. Right? All of them, however, will qualify for Canada's permanent residency under the Startup Visa Program in approximately 18 to 24 months. So in the great scheme of things, these are pretty attractive time periods, and Canada's IRCC has been quite consistent in these timelines. So I mentioned earlier that it's important to have a Canadian designated organization select your business proposal. Okay, so what is a designated organization? There are 3 types, but they all start with one key thing. They apply to Canada's IRCC to obtain authorization to act as a designated organization in the Startup Visa Program. So this is a company that has already attained a certain level of disclosure to the IRCC and received an approval from the IRCC to do this kind of work. So be careful, they have to be designated by IRCC and only IRCC. No other organizations are authorized to play this role as an intermediary collaborator, okay? So be careful about that when you're looking at options. Obviously, we can help you with the selection process. The 3 types are angel investors, venture capital companies, and incubators. They're very different in their approach. They all play the same role, but they do something quite different. So angel investors invest $75,000 of their own capital in the business proposal that you are presenting to them. Okay? Venture capital companies invest $200,000. And incubators are actually more like business advisors, typically associated with a Canadian university. And they don't commit to investing capital, but rather they commit to helping you develop your business proposal. So it acts like an incubator anywhere in the world for business purposes. I'm sure you have them here. I'm sure they're very successful. Same thing in Canada. Typically associated with a Canadian university in relation to the Startup Visa Program. So in relation to the English language, the key requirement is Canadian language benchmark number 5. compared to Canadian language benchmark 7 for Canada's provincial nominee program, compared to Canadian language benchmark 8 and 9 for the express entry system. So what is CLB 5? It's conversational language. This is a much lower threshold, much more practical threshold. The focus is on entrepreneurship. And the idea is you have to have enough knowledge of the two languages of Canada, English and French, to be able to operate in the Canadian economy. You don't have to be a skilled, almost fluent, perfectly fluent speaker or writer. Okay? You also need to prove settlement funds, which for a family of 4 in round numbers is about 24,000 Canadian dollars. So that's relatively accessible. Okay, it's not a low amount of money, but certainly accessible. Which businesses? This is the most typical question I get. I said, I'm interested in the Canadian Startup Visa program, but I don't know if my idea is going to work. So this is kind of critical to the advisory role that we play. We will work with you based on information that you give us, right? You will come and say, well, I've been thinking, based on my skill set as an accountant, as a lawyer, as a technology professional, that I could do something like this, right? And we will help you refine that and work with advisors that will help you refine that so that it becomes something that's concrete, that is presentable to designated organizations who can select your proposal or not. Even if you don't have a specific business idea, we tend to work with people who are interested in the program because this is their best option for immigrating to Canada, and we will always try to find the best solution for you. So it's tremendously useful to have that point in time where we discuss, if I had a chance to start a business, this is what I would do. And I know there are many entrepreneurs in India. I think it's one of the distinguishing features of modern India. In fact, there's been news reports recently in the United States observing how some extraordinarily talented Indian executives have risen to the very top of the United States corporate structures for companies, most recently in like Starbucks, or famously, I believe it's Google and Microsoft. So there's really a tendency in India to be entrepreneurial. This is a chance to try that. Okay. Now, again, the goal is to make an assessment, and sometimes you have to say, well, it might not be for you. This program is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship programs, whether it's Canada's PNP program, or Canada's C11 program, or the Startup Visa program, are not for everybody. Okay, but they are very good for families or people that already have that set of skills. And we say it's better to investigate and inform yourself than to close the door, because right now this door is open. This is a great program. It's working very well for people that are able to go down this road. Before I go back, I will say one thing about which businesses qualify. There's a tendency to think that it has to be a technology business, and it's not entirely wrong. But if you look at technology businesses, you always have some root which is tied to the traditional economy. And in that sense, you can have a technology business, whether it's something as simple as taking an existing company and creating a platform for a national business that turns it into a technology business. So it starts out with traditional brick and mortar business, but because you see an opportunity and a new approach, you can turn it into a technology business. So don't be daunted by the tendency for Canada to try and imagine the next Juniper Networks or the next technology company that's going to shake up Canada's economy, maybe even the world economy. Examples such as Research in Motion and other companies that have obviously been stellar successes in Canada. Don't get daunted by that, but do think that it's very helpful if you imagine a large footprint, right? does that mean? A footprint that is national in scope, a business that can operate in any province. That tends to be the type of business that is preferred for the startup visa program. I think the advantages, I think I've mentioned, it's obviously quick. It solves the problem for many people that don't qualify for the express entry system. You can make one application. You can bring your family and your children who are unmarried under 22. Has lower requirements for English language or French language knowledge, CRB5. And it's outside the express entry system. So tremendously flexible in that regard, and frankly, what I've seen is really incredibly useful for some families that don't otherwise qualify. The visa process tends to be a total cost of approximately $280,000, which I think is, compared to other price points, very attractive for a permanent residency program. Again, not a small amount of money, I'm not going to pretend it is, but it can be more accessible than some of the other programs available both in Canada compared to Canada's PNP programs, which have a higher price point and frankly more strict requirements. So for example, one of the reasons why some of my clients tend to prefer the startup visa program compared to the PNP, provincial nominee entrepreneur class programs, is because the startup visa program doesn't have a specific requirement to live in the province where the investment is being made. By comparison, the PNP entrepreneur programs, they tend to have two requirements. One, you have to invest in an area that is not part of the major metropolitan city to be able to benefit from the lower investment threshold. And two, they require a physical presence requirement in the province where you are pursuing the PNP entrepreneur program, which means that you cannot, let's say, invest in Saskatchewan but want to live in Vancouver. You cannot do that. You have to go through the program and then move. This is not a tremendous sacrifice, but still, you cannot do that. Whereas in the startup visa program, totally different. There is no such requirement. So more flexibility. And that's why the program is frankly very interesting, because I put myself in the life of my clients. I want to give them the flexibility that allows them to live their life in the way that makes them the most happy and successful. So here are some immigration updates for Canada for 2022. There have been some interesting steps of development. I mentioned at the beginning of my conversation that Canada's immigration thresholds are going to be increasing. So Canada has a shortage of skilled and unskilled workers. The problems are typical for Western Europe, Canada, and for the United States. Generationally, these countries all have aging populations that are retiring from the workforce, and the domestic population has not had enough children to be able to replace them. I believe this is even happening in China, of all places. So what I'm saying is that Canada's immigration quotas are going up over the next few years. This is an explicit statement from Canada's immigration minister, which means that this is an opportunity if you're considering immigrating to Canada. The thresholds are expected to be by 2024 about 450,000. Okay, this is separate from Canada's family reunification program. These are for work employment programs or entrepreneur programs. And this is more statements about the policies of Canada. This slide is interesting because it's an open recognition that the COVID pandemic has been difficult for Canada's immigration bureaucracy. High commissions closed, consulates closed. The immigration system itself stressed to its maximum in terms of visa processing. What I like about this is that they're very straightforward about it. They actually have an express statement from the Minister of Immigration very recently saying we're doing things to improve it. And we're going to use online tools to improve it. Now, you know from the introduction, thank you for the message, 500. So compared to pre-COVID, there are approximately 40.9 reason for that is that there is growing demand in Canada. So for Canadian immigration, I don't see that demand changing. I think it's going to stay high for several years. Fortunately, there's going to be higher quotas, higher numbers of immigrants accepted into Canada. But this is, it's an indication that the express entry system is being used successfully, so much so that the express entry points draws are high. Okay? And we all watch this very carefully, literally on a monthly basis, weekly basis. And the news is not bad, but it is hard, I think, and that's something that's unfortunately true. This is our newsletter. Please sign up for our newsletter. We cover U.S. and Canadian immigration in our newsletter. And lastly, contact information for myself and my dear colleague based in Delhi, Arushi Gupta, who's here and will be presenting a little bit. Thank you very much for the time to present today in the exhibit hall. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.